All right, I think I figured it out. It's included in the slot name as part of the parentheses. So we'll just grab. This one doesn't have two parentheses. Oh, it doesn't have any parentheses around it. All right. We'll see if I botch this formatting at all. Just gonna put that there for the moment. Grab a copy of actually this whole thing. Stick it in between these because we want this to sometimes appear, but not always. Bald's cool. Bald is cool. If you're into that, you know. If you don't like it, don't bother. Okay, ending for that. Nothing special. So I think that's how that works. No idea. Never tried it. I'll see. But this variant mesh model is not correct. This is still referencing a daemonette head. So we'll come back to that and fix it in a minute. Also, this should not say head. This should say, we'll just mark it hair. Hair. If I ever want to add any other hair, that's how I'll do it. Let's go to, oh yeah, probability. 80% chance. Is that the decimal? That'll be fine. Okay, so we have our variant mesh definition done for the moment. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yes, I am. Now we need to import our assets. So I'm going to go to my art folder. I'm going to right click, add a file. You can also hit Control A if you want to be all speedy. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to grab my diffuse, specular, normal, gloss map, and rigid model. Open. And you can, if you hold down Control, you can select multiple files at a time, so you can chuck a bunch in there. And now we have the master stuff down here. So I'm going to take a moment, Control R, and quickly rename these. We're going to name them with the same naming convention I use for everything else to keep everything in order and keep everything consistent, allowing me to not have to copy and paste every time. You know, I can make assumptions based on the standards I put in place about the names of my stuff, and not have to worry as much about botching it. You know, I know it's gonna be CS underscore daemonette underscore head underscore whatever number I'm using. So it'd be, oh, and of course there's an O in front of it, so it'd be 01, 02, and then underscore the part, gloss matte, diffuse, what have you. You know, keeping these sorts of consistent naming conventions is a great way to avoid issues when dealing with .WSmodel files. So we're gonna name it CS underscore daemonette. Oh, I can spell. Make sure I spelled that right. Underscore hair underscore 01 underscore diffuse, and I'm going to copy this chunk of it because I want these all to stay together, which means I'm all going to name them consistently. And even if I misspelled something, they'll all be misspelled, so they'll still stay in the same order. And if they aren't in the same order, that is an indication that you misspelled something as well. Don't want 2 underscores, just want 1. And then I'm going to grab the master head, and I'm going to give it the same treatment, except I'm going to... Actually, yeah, I am going to rename it underscore 01. And now, if we look, the hair section has... I apologize for the Windows error noises. It just happens whenever you click on a rigid model, and I've never figured out how to fix that. So now I have the hair diffuse, gloss, normal, and specular, all in the same order as everything else within my file structure, if you could even call it that. You know, and now I know what this is named consistently, and then we're going to start importing it on the XML side. So I'm going to dismiss the art. We won't need that anymore. We have our CS underscore daemonette hair copied, so we can use that as a way to quickly adapt existing files to our new our new files. I'm going to go into my XML. First things first, we need a WSmodel. So I'm going to copy the name of this, and I just overwrote what I had copied, but that's fine. I'm going to create a text file And I'm going to paste the name of this in here because I just don't like typing .WSmodel. It's annoying. And then I'm going to name this CS Demonet underscore hair. Oop, I can spell hair. Underscore 01.WSmodel. But this hair.WSmodel is empty, so we're going to grab an existing one and just jam it in there. And then we're going to change the claw to hair, because you can use what you have, because a lot of this stuff doesn't change between files so long as what you have is consistent. So something to note real quick is to, especially when importing like whole bodies and stuff, when you're setting up this initial .WSmodel, your part index and LOD index count needs to be correct. So it should be, for each part, you need 4 levels of detail, or LODs. And then the index starts at 0 because it's programming and we count from 0 instead of 1. And then it's 0 to 3. And then those are attached to your weighted 2 and 4. So 4 and 2. 4 is closer, higher detail. 2 is less detail, which is why the LOD is lower. The lower the LOD, the closer the level of detail. So when you're real close up, it's going to try and use better textures. And when you're far away, it's going to use less good textures to save you some resources and not light your computer on fire, like Total War likes to do. But to know how many parts you need total, you go back to your Ultimate Unwrap, open it up, import it, click that Remind Me Later, because yeah, I'm using a free copy. Go to your groups, click the plus, and check the amount of groups. Currently, there's 1. It's just a head. You know, sometimes a head, like for the Marauders, might have like odd braids or whatever that is a second part. So you'd need 2 parts. In this case, I only need 1. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to remove part index 1 and just keep part index 0 with its 4 LODs. And then I'm going to change the LODs. Instead of saying claw, we're going to make it say hair. So I'm going to Control F. And then my buttons don't appear. If yours don't as well, you can find the Find and Replace button right here. So Control F is Find, and then the Find and Replace is this ghostly button over here. We'll type in claw if it wants to work. Control A doesn't work here. Claw. I think my keyboard's... What is going on? Something's very wrong. Okay, now it works. I clicked off it, I clicked back into it, and it works. Very confused. Keep going though. We're going to find claw and replace it with hair. I spelled hair wrong again. Replace all. Boom. Careful with the replace all. Sometimes you might replace things you didn't intend to replace, but it'll always highlight what you replaced in green so you can double check your work. We're going to dismiss this with this invisible button right here. And now we've got a .WSmodel file for the hair. Real simple. You know, rather than trying to type it all out manually, we can just use what we've already done as an easy reference. And if you don't have, this initial file, you can get one from the editing.wsmodel files guide, which I will have linked somewhere. The guide itself it's all right. I think it could use some help in certain areas, but it's a good resource for the specific material files we'll be using, which I'll discuss in a moment, and just the basic format of a .WSmodel file. So at this point, we finished the .WSmodel. We're going to Control R to rename, copy our name here, and take it back over to our variant mesh definitions and stick it right in there. Instead of linking to a rigid model, we're linking to a .WSmodel. This is what is going to allow us to control what diffuse the rigid model wants, because the rigid models all want diffuses from the base game. They're going to search your data.pack for it, and you don't want to edit your data.pack to edit those. So instead, you edit your assets, import them into your own mod, and then tell it exactly what to do using a .WSmodel. And that's what we're doing here. So we've made the .WSmodel. That should be squared away, unless we, made a mistake that we'll have to fix eventually. But it should be squared away. I've kept the file structure simple, so we're only having to reference variant meshes, XML, and then the .WSmodel. Nothing too crazy. Things are kept simple so that we can find breakages easier. Past this point, if we go back to our .WSmodel, we are referencing material files that do not exist. So let's copy the name of it. Don't want to miss that L. I'm going to copy the name of it, and let's make them exist. Let's go to our material folder and do the same thing we did for the WSmodel file. Create text, and we are making an XML.material file. XMLs are text files. I don't know what's quite special about them. I don't know. But they're just text files. You can open them anything. You can even edit these in like Notepad++ if you want, which is a fantastic piece of software to do it in. Very powerful program, and it's just generally really good at editing text files, but I just do it in the editor because it works just fine. So we're going to create this empty text file. It's going to be somewhere around here. Hair. Here we are. This is the hair file. So it's empty, but that's fine because we're going to use the exact same materials for everything. As far as I know, these materials are this like format has yet to let me down. I don't know what it doesn't work for, but what it does is everything that I've been working on, which is a lot of humanoid stuff, different skeletons, different amounts of armor and metallic stuff, everything it's worked fine for. I haven't tried glows at all. This is purely for transparencies. At the top, you can see it says Chaos Lord Torso, weighted for alpha on. We want alpha to be on. Alpha is what gives us that transparency. Without it, we just get big black splotches. So we want alpha to be present. And normally you would try and hunt down the unit that you're modifying, or a very similar one, their material file. But for whatever reason, the Chaos Lord ones that were made by, I don't recall the name right now, but the guide will be attached to this. The material files that this guide maker has created or put together work really well, and they work for everything, and they're consistent. You don't have to fanny about trying to hunt through the game files, finding whatever material files will fit what you're doing. Just use these, and if they break, then you panic. But until then, it's probably not these if you're having a problem. And if you are, definitely contact the mod help section of the Discord, so that you can be absolutely sure that the Chaos Lord materials aren't the thing giving you the problem, because as far as I know, they're super compatible with everything, and it's a great way just to add transparency to everything. It's critical for cutting parts of models out. So with that said, I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to copy it down, and we're going to take it over to our hair. I'm going to just plop it right in. We don't need to change anything about the Chaos Lord Torso at the moment. We need to edit our diffuse, gloss, normal, and specular. I don't have a mask. If you're using masking, then you would need to attach your mask there. I don't use masking for this army because there are no factions to it. This unit, because there are no factions. It's just Slaanesh. So mask is empty. I left that slot empty. If you get the material file from the guide, make sure to remove the Karl Franz mask from there, because it will turn everything pink. As fun as that is, it may not be what you're looking for. So we're going to leave that empty because I don't have a mask file, and instead we're going to go to our diffuse. And seeing as everything is set to chest, I'm just going to Control F, find and replace chest. And it's doing that thing again. I'm going to click out and click back in. Yep, that's it. That's the problem. How odd. Chest. And we're going to replace with hair. Our chests are all 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All the names should be the same because I kept my naming conventions consistent. So I really should just be able to do something this easy, and it should work just fine. As you can see, I've also, variant meshes, art, Demonette hair diffuse, simple file paths. Might be a little bit of an organizational nightmare for some, I don't mind it too much. And this is choice though. You know, not having to worry about having to link all the way down into HU1 and then your Empire soldiers and then coming back up and grabbing a texture from your chaos section. Being able to just have consistent, blunt file paths has really served me well, and I can't recommend it enough. That said, it's not mandatory. I just like it. So we have our weighted 4 for our hair, but we need our weighted 2. So I'm going to create... well, actually, I should probably copy the name beforehand. Then I'm going to go to my material, create text, type this in, but change the 4 to a 2, create. Then I'm going to copy. I'm going to come back to this weighted 4 here, copy the whole darn thing, chuck it into here, but I'm going to scroll to the top and change the Chaos Lord torso weighted 4 to weighted 2. That's it. Now you got your weighted 2. That's how you make your weighted 2. It's nothing more complex. Now we've got our weighted 4 and our weighted 2 material. We've got those linked up to the hair.WSmodel and the hair.WSmodel linked up to our variant mesh definition. And specifically, we've got it set to a probability of 0.8. Let's save. I'm using the my mod functionality, which essentially allows you to store pack files in a way that lets you load them quickly and easily, and also install them with Control-Shift-I or click the install button, which is super helpful. You know, you have to save before you can install, otherwise it won't install the newest version. But it allows you to quick get back into the game, test the thing, and then Alt F4 out of the game, and come back into the editor and just keep rolling back and forth. You know, you don't have to make a copy, drag it to the data folder, and you know, it's none of that crap. And you don't have to edit out of the data folder. That's a big deal too. Don't edit out of the data folder. Things break. How do they break? I don't know. I've just lost whole mods to it. I wouldn't recommend it. Other people I've talked to don't recommend it. So take that with a grain of salt. And take it with a grain of salt, but do take that recommendation nonetheless, because it's dangerous to work out of the data folder. Game's open. Skip the intro logos. We're going to go into battles. Custom battle, because I have the custom battles permission set up. I don't need to try any campaign shenanigans to get these. They don't have an icon because I'm a hack. And I'm just going to load this up real quick, and we're going to see where we're at. You know, none of this part doesn't really matter. I could probably cut this. Now we got it loaded in. Fair warning, these units are topless, but there's nothing really there. But yeah, if you're not a fan of that, just dip. Yeah, warning aside, let's see if the ponytails work. Damn, that is way worse than I could have ever expected. Wow, it's attached to their arm. Huh. No way. It's attached to what appears to be the upper arm. Ooh, this is something that I've never run into before. So this is a potential problem, you know, you might encounter. I have no idea how to solve it. I need to ask, which is something you should never be afraid to do when you're modding, because damn it if this isn't way more complex than I could have ever anticipated. It actually looks like the probability thing didn't work at all. But yeah, you know, if you are modding, don't be afraid to ask for help, because it's gonna suck if you just try and barrel through this with nobody else's help. You know, there's a lot of people that know way more than you do, and there is no shame in asking for help. And if somebody does, get on you for asking for help, they're the one who sucks, not you. Oh, it actually does look like it's 80% did work. No, well, good. I'm glad it did. This unit here looks just fine. Yeah, don't let anybody get on you for asking for help. It is how this community has gotten so great where it is. You know, there are people willing to ask for help. There are people willing to pool resources, and got a lot, there's a lot of success because of that. So I'm gonna fix this issue, but usually things don't get linked up wrong. But that's about it. This is how, what I've done here, what I've demonstrated here is how I've made these whole models. If I break down what you're looking at here, it is the base body of a witch with the hair stripped off the models, the chest piece stripped off the models, and they have 2 sets of legs. One of them is cut off at the knee, and one of them is not. The 2 sets of legs are the same model, so there's no conflict there. There's no anything weird sticking out. And sometimes there will be one that doesn't get the full legs. It only gets the half legs. And for those ones, they have what remains of RNS Assault Spites, the Vampire Coast captain, her legs, her odd peg legs, and her body spikes. I removed everything else from her model except for those, and that's how you get this spiky appearance, with some of them having these odd sort of legs to them. And all of this was done using the exact same process I detailed, with the transparencies, and yeah, that's about it. Sometimes you can run into this issue where something is linked up to the wrong piece. I'll have to experiment what the heck's going on there. But I have yet to run into that, and I've, as it kind of shows, I've done quite a bit with these, a lot of texture editing and cutting things out and modifying, and this is the first time I've run into this particular issue. If I find the solution, I will append it to this video, but in the meantime, that's it. That's all I got.